Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. This is going to be a review of last night's Dynamite, which was the December 18th edition. And last night's Dynamite was from the American Bank Center in Corpus Christi in Texas. And this was a good edition of Dynamite last night. Really enjoyed it. Had good matches. We had Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. We also saw Cody teaming up with Darby Allin to take on the Butcher and the Blade. We had Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho in a 10-minute time limit match. So that was a really good, awesome match. And the main event, we had SCU versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson, for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. And of course, this is the last. This was the last Dynamite show of this year. Next week, there's no show considering it's Christmas. So Dynamite won't be back until New Year's Day on January 1st of the new year of 2020. So 2-week wait until new edition of AEW Dynamite and of course the first Dynamite of the new year. But let's get started with the Dynamite review. So AEW Dynamite opened up last night with the Lucha Brothers, Pentagon Jr. and Phoenix versus Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. Really good match from these guys. And the crowd last night throughout the whole show in Corpus Christi, it was a hot crowd. This was a really hot crowd throughout the show. And they were hot all through this match. This crowd was behind both teams, the Lucha Brothers and Kenny Omega and Hangman. And of course, you saw Pentagon do his Cero Miedo, which means no fear in Spanish. He did it to Hangman Adam Page because Pentagon did it in Hangman's face. That pissed off Hangman, so Hangman just shoved Pentagon Jr. And it was a back and forth match between them. You had at one point where you had Pentagon was in the ring, and Pentagon had a reversal on Kenny Omega's move that he was doing. Kenny Omega ended up hitting a Super Dragon suplex on Phoenix. Phoenix ended up getting back up. And Hangman and Page, he accidentally clotheslined Kenny Omega. And so Pentagon ended up taking control of the match here. He ended up hitting a double foot stomp to Kenny Omega. So that is how the match ended. That was at the end of the match. So it was a really good match between the teams. So Lucha Brothers ended up picking up the win. And of course, Kenny Omega and Hangman Adam Page. I have to say, after what we saw last night, this is going to set up Hangman's heel turn, because you can tell from here and from what happened last week, even though Kenny Omega and Hangman won last week, where they defeated Kip Sabian and Shawn Spears. So you had Kenny Omega last week, not too happy. Well, Hangman didn't look too happy last week after Kenny Omega ended up win the match for the both of them. So, but Hangman's heel turn is going to come really soon. So. And then you had what happened post match. You had Kenny Omega and Hangman were still in the ring. And it looked like that Kenny Omega and Hangman were going to start to go at it. And then we see Pac. Pac appears on the Titantron. So Pac ends up saying that he wants Kenny Omega to come to the back. So Pac ends up walking into a room. And all you see is Michael Nakazawa, who is Kenny Omega's best friend, and his back is towards the door. He's sitting in a chair. Kenny Omega ends up running to the back, and during the commercial break, because this is when Dynamite went to commercial, which I don't know why they went to commercial here. TNT needs to work on not having Dynamite, go to a commercial when something, good could be happening. We want to hear the audio. We want to hear the audio of what's happening. As they take the commercial breaks, they need to work on it. It's something good that's happening. We want to see it. When something good happens and we want to, see it, then go to a commercial break. They got to work on that. So during the commercial break, because they had the split screen commercial break, we saw Kenny Omega and Hangman. They ran to the back, and they ended up getting attacked by the Lucha Brothers once again backstage by Pentagon and Phoenix. And Kenny Omega ends up getting up, and he tries to find where Nakazawa is, and also Pac. So Hangman ends up following Kenny Omega. So that's what we saw during the split screen commercial break. But really would like to see, really would like to hear the audio of what was going on, especially the commentary by Tony Schiavone, Jim Ross, and Excalibur. All in all, good tag team match from the Lucha Brothers and Kenny Omega and Hangman. Then we had Cody and Darby Allin versus the Butcher and the Blade. We had Darby Allin and the Butcher start off the match. And the Butcher ended up throwing Darby Allin across the ring. The Butcher ended up tagging in the Blade. Blade ended up putting Darby Allin in a headlock. Darby Allin was taking, Butcher off the apron. Led to arm drag on the Blade. And fans, Darby Allin ended up tagging in Cody, and the fans were chanting, "Let's go, Cody." So then, towards the end of the match, you had Cody ends up hitting the Cody Cutter on the Blade. So Cody and Darby Allin end up winning the match. And of course, you had the buddy, of course, Allin, on the outside. So, but Cody and Darby Allin end up winning the match. And this is the first loss already for the Butcher and the Blade. Even though they won their match, last week. So they won their match last week, and now, they lose this week. But overall, good match. from Cody and Darby Allin and the Butcher and the Blade. Then we had Awesome Kong. Awesome Kong versus this woman, this local talent from there. And the match was just a squash match. Awesome Kong came out with, of course, Brandy and also, not her name, but who was it? Melody Cruz. So Brandy and Melody Cruz was there with Awesome Kong. Of course, the Nightmare Collective, as what they're calling themselves. So this was just a squash match. Awesome Kong versus this local woman. All it was Kong hit a spinning back fist and a face plant. There you go. Kong ended up winning. And after the match, you had, Kong ends up getting out the knife that she always has, cuts off a little bit of that woman's hair, and pretty much that was basically that. So it was a squash match, easy win for Awesome Kong. So then after that, we had Jim Ross. Good old JR. Jim Ross ended up interviewing Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy ends up saying that Chris Jericho is the man that doesn't scare him. So he says Jericho is the legend he has a lot of respect for. Jungle Boy ends up saying that he's aware of the pressure and gravity of this moment, and he's ready to tackle it head on. So Jungle Boy ended up talking about how he knows his dad would be proud of him for getting this far. And he says to be here talking to JR and wrestling Chris Jericho would be everything that he would have wanted, that his father would have wanted. So it was a really good interview with Jungle Boy. Good sit down interview with Jungle Boy, with Jim Ross interviewing him. And then we had, of course, the match. Jungle Boy versus Chris Jericho. This was a match, a 10-minute time limit match. So either Jericho or Jungle Boy had to, pin whoever in 10 minutes, or else if the 10 minutes is up, then the match would go to a draw. So Jericho ended up coming out first, along with Jake Hager, of course. Then Jungle Boy came out with Luchasaurus, and also sorry about that, but I was saying, Jericho, of course, came out with Jake Hager, and Jungle Boy came out with his one half of Jurassic Express, Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt. And the match got underway, which was a awesome, good match between both Jericho and Jungle Boy. You had Jungle Boy starting off the match, rolled up Jericho. Jericho kicked out of it. Jungle Boy ended up landing a overhand chop and a springboard arm drag to Jericho. Jericho ended up sending Jungle Boy into the ropes, and Jericho then followed up with a code breaker. And during this match, we saw Jungle Boy's family was in the crowd. His mother was in the crowd, his sister and his grandmother were all sitting, front row. And then Jericho ends up sending Jungle Boy over the top rope. And that led to Jake Hager coming over there. Jake Hager ended up attacking Jungle Boy. Luchasaurus and Jake Hager started to brawl on the outside. And then Marco Stunt decides to get into the action, goes over to help Luchasaurus and Jungle Boy. And Marco Stunt then takes a elbow strike from Jake Hager. So because of that, the referee, it was Aubrey Edwards. She ended up sending Jake Hager and Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt to the back. So then it was just one-on-one with Jericho and Jungle Boy. And you had Jericho ends up hitting an Irish Whip to Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy ended up reversing it with a backstabber. Jericho ended up kicking out of that. And Jericho went for a chokehold, a foot chokehold, which the fans were booing the hell out of. You had Jungle Boy doing Jericho's lion salt onto Jericho. Jericho ended up kicking out of that because that would have been humiliating if Jericho losing the match to his own move. So Jericho ended up doing, the lion salt to Jungle Boy. And Jericho then powerbombs Jungle Boy and follows up with the Walls of Jericho, the Lion Tamer. And it was shown that there was, 1 minute left. So Jericho had Jungle Boy in that, Walls of Jericho. Jungle Boy was trying to crawl to get to the bottom rope. Jericho ended up pulling him back. And, time was counted down. The time expired. And Jungle Boy, he didn't tap out. He never gave up, which that was really awesome to see. So the match ended no contest. It ended in a draw. So Jericho wasn't too happy about that. He then grabbed the mic and he tells Justin Roberts, "Oh, I want 5 more minutes. I want 5 more minutes. Put 5 more minutes back up there." So Jericho ends up heading back to the ring, striking Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy ends up getting up. He ends up hitting a Hurricanrana to Jericho and goes for the cover. Jericho ends up kicking out. And then Jericho ends up rolling out of the ring, grabs his title, and ends up going to the back, which got boos from the crowd. So then we saw during the commercial break in the split screen thing, Jericho came back down to the ring. He started throwing chairs around. He's yelling at Jungle Boy's family in the front row. And Jericho ends up leaving. And we see him yell at the crowd. This is all happening during the commercial break. So then Tony Schiavone. As the show came back on, Tony Schiavone has Jericho at the top of the ramp. Jericho ended up saying that he refuses to believe that Jungle Boy lasted 10 minutes with him. Jericho ended up saying that the more important thing to discuss is Jon Moxley. So Jericho ends up saying that he and the Inner Circle have a surprise for Jon Moxley on the first Dynamite of the new year, which is happening on January 1st. So Jericho ends up saying that he hopes that Moxley will make the right decision and to join the Inner Circle. So that was what happened. Jericho, saying that Jericho really wants, Moxley to join the Inner Circle, which Moxley, he's not going to join the Inner Circle. This is going to set up more of their feud. And, it's going to be a good match between Jericho and Moxley because Moxley really wants that AEW World Championship. So this is just, done to spark more of this feud between Jericho and of the feud with Jericho and Moxley. So backstage, we had Jennifer Sturger. I think that's how you pronounce her name. She was interviewing SCU, and Christopher Daniels ends up saying that the Young Bucks might be the tag team of the decade, but they're the team of the year, meaning, SCU. So Lucha Brothers end up coming up, and Frankie Kazarian tells Christopher Daniels to show him he's still got it. So that was the interview, little interview with SCU. Then we had Britt Baker versus Kris Statlander. The winner of this match would be the number one contender to determine who will face Riho for the Women's Championship. And the match itself, it was very meh, in my opinion. Not a great match. Kris Statlander, she is decent in the ring. Sorry about that, but I was saying, Kris Statlander, she is decent in the ring. And towards the end of the match, we had Statlander. She hits her finisher, which is the Big Bang Theory, on Britt Baker. So Kris Statlander ends up winning the match. So Kris Statlander is the number one contender to face Riho for the Women's Championship. Then we see a shocked look on Riho's face. And this match is going to take place on the first Dynamite of New Year, on January 1st, on New Year's Day. So on New Year's Day, we're going to see Kris Statlander versus Riho for the Women's Championship. So at the end, post-match, we had Tony Schiavone. He ends up congratulating Statlander. Then we see Brandy. Brandy Rhodes makes her way out. So she ends up congratulating Kris Statlander, and that she knew she could do it. And Brandy ended up wanting to know one question. She wanted to know if Kris Statlander is with the Nightmare Collective or not. So Kris Statlander ends up rejecting the offer, waving the finger at Brandy. So Brandy ends up taking her heel, her high heel, and gorges it at Kris Statlander. Looked like she got Kris Statlander in the eye. So, and pretty much, that's basically what happened. So, and before that, Kris Statlander ended up turning to see Awesome Kong and Melly Cruz on the ramp. That's when Kris Statlander turned back, and Brandy ended up decking her with her high heel. So, and that was basically what happened. Then we had a promo from Shawn Spears and Tully Blanchard, saying that they need to find a guy that can be molded and can work well with both of them. They said they're going to keep scouting for the right guy. And also, they get to mention about how tag team wrestling matters in AEW. That's why Spears is looking for the right partner for him. So we had that little promo. Then we had the main event. SCU Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky versus the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick Jackson for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. And this was a good main event, a really enjoyable main event by these teams. Matt and Nick Jackson, always entertained here. We saw a really good, awesome Hurricanrana that Nick Jackson did, which was really awesome. And, it was just back and forth between them. And towards the end of the match, SCU end up getting the win with the SCU ladder on Matt Jackson. So SCU ends up winning the match. They still retain the AEW World Tag Team Championship. Then you had the post-match. We had the Dark Order makes their entrance. And I forgot to mention, during the Lucha Brothers versus Kenny Omega, Hangman and Page match, you kind of saw a little distortion. And it looked like one of the members of the Dark Order. And then on commentary, they're like, "Oh, that's a technical difficulty there." And then we saw, I think it was during the women's match, where it said joindarkorder.com. So I'm like, something's gonna happen. I was like, something's gonna happen tonight with the Dark Order. They're gonna possibly be there. So what happened post match? The Dark Order end up coming out. Their creatures end up coming from the crowd. And Evil Uno end up getting on the mic. And he ends up putting the match over. And he ends up saying that the Young Bucks have suffered a hard loss. And any other night, they'd ask them to join. So Evil Uno says it's no recruitment. It's about the Dark Order putting them down. So we see the Dark Order's creatures surround the ring. And we see Alex Reynolds and John Silver also there. And so they're beating all 4 men in this match. They beat up SCU and Matt and Nick Jackson. Sorry about that again, but I was saying, the Dark Order creatures were beating up SCU and Matt and Nick Jackson. So Christopher Daniels ended up trying to make the save, but there was too many of the creatures there, of the Dark Order's creatures. Kenny Omega came out to make the save, but he also got taken down by the creatures. Cody ends up coming out also, gets taken down by the creatures. Dustin Rhodes also comes down. Dustin Rhodes gets taken down by the Dark Order's creatures. So the Dark Order continued the beatdown. Stu Grayson ends up pulling a pair of masks out. And Evil Uno got back on the mic. Evil Uno ended up saying that he told us this was an ideation. And we see Evil Uno, he ends up giving the masks to Alex Reynolds and John Silver. So Alex Reynolds and John Silver join the Dark Order. And then we see they hold up Matt Jackson, and we see them do something in Matt Jackson's mouth. They put something in Matt Jackson's mouth. And so Matt Jackson's laid out, and all we see is the Dark Order, doing some chant. And that's how Dynamite went off the air. So, but really crazy ending. But good show overall. The crowd, like I said, was hot throughout the night. And, good matches. Except for, the women's matches, Britt Baker and Kris Statlander and Awesome Kong in doing a squash match. So anyways, that's it for my review of last night's AEW Dynamite. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe. And there will be no SmackDown review tomorrow because I will be at SmackDown. It's going to be at the Barclays Center, so I'm going to be there. So I'm going to have fun. There will be a vlog also. So, till the next video, I'll see you all later.